Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. In today's video, we'll be making 10 games in one day. Yep, you heard me right. Before I begin with today's video, I want to thank you all for the massive support that I've been getting recently. It really means a lot. Also, we are so close to reaching 1,200 subscribers, so if you enjoy the content, you can subscribe. Also, don't forget to turn on the bell so that you will never miss a new video when I upload. Alright, now without further ado, let's begin with today's video. The first thing that I did was to obviously make the project in Unity. After that, I made folders for everything that I needed, which is pretty simple. After that, I added the only thing that I will need for the games, a square. Yep, the game will be made only with squares, which is very original. I know. After that, I made two new scripts. The first script is for platformer movement, and the second script is for 2D top-down movement. After I made the scripts, I made the layout for the first game. As you can see, the game is a platformer. I wanted to start off easy for the first game. I also added spikes that kill you when you touch them, to add more challenge to the game. After a long time, well, 10 minutes to be honest, I finally made the game. As you can see, it's just a normal platformer. The second game is just like the first game, but now the player has less gravity, which is actually pretty cool. After some time, I made the second game, and as you can see, it's almost identical to the first game, but now the only change is that the spikes are larger now since you have less gravity. The third game is similar to the first game, but now a wall chases you. It is a platformer just like the other game, but the catch is that there's a wall chasing you, which means that you will have to be faster or else you will die. The fourth game is the final platformer game that I made. For the fourth game, I made the player move on his own. The only control that you will have is jumping, which means that you will have to precisely jump. The inspiration of this game is Geometry Dash. So far, this is my favorite game out of all the platformers that I've made. The fifth game is just like the hardest game that I made 2 weeks ago. I basically ripped it off. So yeah, it's just basically the hardest game. There's not much I can say. The sixth game is just like the fifth game, but now the player has platformer movement, which means that the layout of the map has also changed. I find this very interesting, that you can mix two genres into one. I really like this idea. The seventh game is just like the fifth game, but now the spikes move instead of standing still. This makes the game way more harder than it is. The eighth game is just like the seventh game, but instead of having 2D top-down movement, it has platformer movement. The ninth game is pretty simple. The player can only move left and right. The goal is to try and collect the green squares. If one of the squares falls down to the ground, you will lose. And the final game is basically just like the ninth game, but instead of collecting the squares, you will have to ignore them. If you touch any of the squares, you will lose. Thanks for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, you can subscribe because that helps me a lot. And plus, we are trying to reach 1,200 subscribers by the end of the week. Stay tuned for more uploads, and until then, I will see you guys in the next video.